I am loving the vibes today, and I feel like they've been occurring and they're going to continue to occur, most especially with this delicious Aries stellium energy we have, but mixed in with some interesting Neptune aspects, and also Mars is still in Gemini, which it can be a it can sometimes be a hard energy, but typically Gemini energy, especially if you've got Gemini rising or Venus or Mars placement, is very much about coming back to this earth to have a more childlike experience. And so is Aries energy. There's I'll have to do some separate videos about it, but there's some stuff that I learned about astrology, most especially like your rising sign and your north node, and any sort of stelliums that you might have. What that partially is supposed to mean when you look at your chart is that energy is what you wanted to come in and experience in this life. So if you've got a lot of Aries energy, a lot of Gemini energy, to a degree Taurus energy even, I don't want to say Libra, a little bit Leo too. I mean, all signs have it. We all want to connect with our inner children, but I think those signs most specifically, um, especially in like rising Venus and North Node, are about wanting to come back and learn to experience that childlike sense of wonder with the freedom of adulthood, so to speak. And you might have noticed, even if you have placements like that, you know what, even yeah, Cancer too, especially Cancer. Um, you might have noticed, like, maybe you had to grow up too fast, but nowadays you're noticing that you're getting more and more into this playful energy and really just like devouring the deliciousness of that. And that's a lot of the energy that I'm picking up on today in terms of these vibes going on. And it'd be great if you comment below or anything about if you're feeling this energy too. It's very much, I think a lot about the Easter references. Now, I know it in several senses, like the goddess Eostare was the one that it first came from, and some of her totems were the rabbit and the egg, which is where we get rabbits and eggs from for Easter. It's about fertility and rebirth, and in very much the Nine of Pentacles sense of allowing the fruit to ripen, like, with that egg, like, you can't open the egg early and know that the baby inside is done. Like, you have to wait for the baby to crack open the egg from the inside. All you can really do until then is keep it at the right temperature and protect it from being broken by anything else. And maybe it is that you have, what is that song? Is it from Sleeping Beauty or Snow White? There's a dream that I dream in my heart. I can't remember how the song goes, but something like that. Like, you might have a little dream in your heart. Maybe it's about an art project or a business or your twin flame or a new love or a new adventure or something, and it's small and it's fragile, but you have it and it's there and it feels good, and somewhere it's ripening, and that you've got to it's like, oh, this is a funny synchronicity. It's like, if you're trying to get feral kittens to come out from under a house so you can put them in a safe place, or rehome them where they'll be taken care of and not out just making a ton more babies, and which is an experience that I had growing up. Is you have to It was so funny as a kid, an ADHD kid too, and I do have Gemini rising and Aries moon, to learn to sit in the stillness and the silence amongst the grass and just leave some food close to the hole under the house and not rush in the minute that the kittens started appearing, because they would run away. They would, their mamas teach them, don't go towards people, don't go towards big predators. And just to sit there in that stillness and work every day, because you can only go at their speed, and you learn to just like put the food there and then put the food a little further away so they come a little further out, and you still stay a good distance away, and you got to kind of learn how far away is that distance that I need to be for them to feel safe coming out to get some nourishment and this little treat, and knowing that they're not going to be captured or held captive in any way. And then slowly, instead of moving closer to the bowl so much, you start moving the bowl closer to you, and you find that sweet spot in the middle of moving closer towards the bowl and the bowl moving closer towards you. And you still, when those kittens come up to that bowl, you don't reach out to touch them. In fact, I learned to look like I was amused with something else, a stick, a piece of grass, a book, just to sit there and have the bowl near my feet and let them come up. And eventually they would start coming up to me and rubbing their heads on me. And they wanted it. They realized that I was providing affection. I wasn't going to reach and just grab them. And usually by the time that they were used to me and allowing, giving and receiving affection, they were also old enough to be moved from their moms, so we didn't have to care for them, and as like infants and worry about that. Like they were good for that reason. They were ready to go to new homes, and they weren't so feral either because they'd grown up with that experience of like little me out there just learning to do that. And it feels like that's kind of that egg energy of today. And then the other side of Easter, a lot with the Judeo-Christian thoughts of it, with the crucifixion and the resurrection. That going into that phase of allowing the ego to die, and that's representation of the physical body, the crucifixion. And even if you think about the cross in a lot of various Celtic religions. Did I say Celtic? Wow. I meant pagan. It's a weird mixture between pagan and Celtic. In a lot of pagan and non-Judeo spiritual paths, the cross is simply a reference towards the elements. If you think about, like, in indigenous cultures, they have the medicine wheel, the cross in the middle. That's what the cross represents. They elongated it so that the people would be up really high and they could make a public show out of it. But that's effectively what that means. Is it's a representation to the elements and the circle and the spiral cycles and things like that. And but to if you think of that as ego death, like, if sin is a disconnection from the greater universe itself, that we are all a part of, like a feeling like we're disconnected from that, then to be crucified is to lose, to allow the death of that feeling, of that disconnection from self and from spirit. And then we go into a resting state, and then we are resurrected, and also in kind of a mythical like way sometimes. Like, it might feel like, they say like that some people saw him, and then some people say they didn't see him, and the people that went to look to see if he was still there or still dead, there's no body, like, big mystery in it. And I think that that's kind of that re-emergence into a new kind of 3D physical form, and it really is like when parts of your ego either die or learn to, the walls can come up and down. You can choose, what do I want to be, a 3D being today and have this, like, what do we call it, the super poisonous coffee creamer because it really delights my senses in my coffee? Or do I want to be very, no, I should treat my body as a temple all the time? Do, like, you can allow that wall up and down as you want to, and when you do that, you are reborn in that sense. But even in the egg reference, it's very much one of those, you can't force yourself to, like, you can't just be laid out in an egg and then the next day just crack it open. I mean, I suppose you can. I'm not going to say you can't, because then someone will come on and be like, no, I really did it, and they prove it too. But most of us have to go through that incubation time, that gestation period, where we're really, like, we're going from a, like, it's like caterpillar to butterfly, that primordial goop, and turning into something. And it's not even that we have to go through that period, that we have to slow down and learn to roll over and crawl before we can stand and run. It's that it's that we like it. And it may not feel like we like it at first, but the energy of today feels like, especially for those of you on this wavelength, this channel, you're starting to notice that you actually appreciate the contrast that you have been through, even the icky stuff, even the gooey stuff, even the times when you're like, I just want to run, like the Aries energy, I want to run and get to the finish line right now because I want to do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, but you're still in this place of not quite being able to leap that far ahead. And in the past, you may have been in this place of, oh, this sucks, it's going so slow, and I just want to go faster, or why am I so slow, why can't I get this, to this whole, oh, I see why I went through that. And I also see I didn't have to go through that, but I really like that the journey has been paced that way, because it allows me to now look back on where I was and giggle at myself a little bit, and also be forward on it and see that I can, was it like when the tower falls, I can put each brick back where I wanted. I could put them in a different order. I could put them in the same order and build it up and knock it over again, or I can build a garden wall and do something completely different with it. Like it feels like that rebirth energy, that virginal energy coming out of like, this is all brand new and I can explore it. I made it through the wilderness, just doing all that stuff. In any case, I'm going to leave this daily vibe here because it feels like more than enough for a nugget sized delivery of some energy being picked up on. Make sure you check out some other readers too and see what they're picking up on. Get a little collective bunch of what the vibes are, and you can see how that applies to your life or doesn't. And I'll catch you in the next video.